Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We're working on page 24, questions 1 through 10, figuring out the inside angles of triangles. Well, if we look here on the first one, we can see that I have one triangle here connected to another triangle there. I know that a triangle has 180 degrees, and I know that if I add these two together and then subtract them from 180, I can get this missing angle right here. So 180 minus 82 minus 31 should give me, let's take a look here. Let me grab my calculator. It's going to give me 67 degrees. So if I add these two together and subtract it from 180, I'm going to get 67. So I know this angle here is 67 degrees. I also know that these two angles here are vertical angles, which are congruent. So I know that P is going to be 67 degrees. And then finally, I just have to find Q. Well, again, I know that if I add these two together and subtract them from subtract them from 180, I'm going to get Q. So 180 minus 67 minus 98, it's going to give me, these together, it's going to give me 15. So I know that Q is 15 degrees. Remember, a triangle has 180 degrees. Just add those two together. These two are together, subtract it from 180, and you're going to get 15. Question number 2. They're asking me to find x and y. Well, again, I know that a triangle has 180 degrees. If I add these two together and subtract them from 180, well, what's 28 plus 53? That's 81. So 180 minus 81 is going to give me 79 degrees. So I know that this angle right here is going to be 79 degrees. Okay. Excuse me, not 79. Forgive me. 99. My mistake. 99 degrees. 99. Well, I know that these together here are a linear pair because this is a straight line here. So I know this y, I know I can find y very easily. Just take 180 minus 99, and that's going to give me y. And that's going to give me 81. So y is equal to 81 degrees. Now that I know y, I can find x. Because again, here's a triangle. And I know that in a triangle I have 180 degrees. And all I need to do then is add these two together and subtract it from 180. So if I take 81 plus 17, that's going to give me 98. These two together, 8 and 1 is 9, 1 and 8 is 8, so that's going to give me 98. So all I have to do is 180 minus 98 is going to give me the value of x, which is going to give me 82. So x is 82 degrees. Number 3, we're taking something old and putting it together with something new. If you notice here, I have a parallel line here, and I have a parallel line there. And I hope you recognize that I have some transversals. Here's one transversal, here's another transversal, there's another transversal going through my parallel lines. Well, if these are parallel lines, and this here is acting as a transversal, well then this angle here, which is 23 degrees, and this angle here are on different sides of the transversal, so they're alternating, and they're in the inside, so they're alternating interior angles, which I hope you remember are congruent. So if this is 23, this is also 23 degrees. And now I can find A, because in a triangle I have 180 degrees. So just add 79 plus 23, subtract that from 180. So 79 plus 23 is 102. So 180 minus 102 is going to give me 78 degrees. So A is equal to 78 degrees. Next, I know again that these are parallel lines. This is a transversal. I'm looking for B. So I'm going to know that this angle here and this angle here are alternate interior angles, which are congruent. Now, I don't have B here, so I can't get this directly right away. Well, maybe I could. Maybe I could. I know that this is 23. I know that this is 78. I know that this is 50. And if I add all these angles together, they should add up to how much? 180 degrees. Well, let's take a look here. 23 plus 78 plus 50 is equal to is equal to 151. So if I add up all these angles together here, because they should all, notice the straight line here, should all add up to 151. And if I subtract 180 minus 151, that's going to give me 29 degrees. But there's another way that I could solve for angle B. Remember that this here is also a linear pair. So I know that these two angles here, these two angles together also add up to how much? To 180. So I can find this missing angle right here. All I got to do is take 79 minus 180. And that's going to give me 101. And again, well, now I have my triangle here. So I know that 101 plus 50 is 151. So if I want to find this side here, this angle here, just take 180 minus 151, which is also going to give me 29. So I know that this angle here would be 29 degrees. These are alternate interior angles, so this will also be equal to 29 degrees. So you can go about it this way, or you can go about it this way. Just as long as you know that in a triangle you have 180 degrees and a linear pair and linear angles and linear pairs, you can use that information. Number 4 is not so cut and dry, but it's still a pretty simple question. Let's take a look here. For number 4, I hope there's a couple things I want you to notice. I want you to notice these two parallel lines here. These are two parallel lines with a transversal going through it. And I also want you to notice these parallel lines here, blue parallel lines with the yellow as a transversal. But right now, let's focus on the yellow lines as the transversals. Let me cover this up right here with a piece of paper. Let me cover that up. We can see here that these two lines are parallel to each other. I know that this is 100. Well, I know that these are vertical angles. And if these are vertical angles, I know that they are congruent. So that's 100 degrees. I also know that a triangle has 180 degrees in it. And I can also see that these two angles are congruent. So all I have left out of 180, if I use up 100, is 80. And these are two congruent. So this is going to be 40. And this is also going to be 40. That's the easy part. Now you might be saying, Mr. C, yeah, this is 100 here. So these are automatically going to be 40 degrees. Not so. You can't assume that right away. You cannot assume that. There's no information here telling you that they're automatically congruent like these two are. However, you do know that these are two parallel lines and that this is a transversal. And if these are parallel lines and this is a transversal, well then this angle here and this angle here are alternate interior angles which are congruent. So this is 40 degrees. And again, if these two are parallel and this is a transversal, then this angle here and this angle here are also alternate interior, which makes this 40 degrees. And now that we know that this is 40 degrees, we know that these are vertical angles. So this is also going to be 40 degrees. So S is 40. Now we have to find R and T. Well, now is where we have to use the blue lines. Okay? Now is where we have to use the blue lines. So let me block these out here. Notice that, again, these are my two parallel lines. This is a transversal. This angle is inside the blue lines. So is this one right here, meaning that these angles are also congruent using alternate interior angles, which makes this 40 degrees. So R is also 40. And now we can see that T is going to be 100 degrees. Question number 5 is a pretty clear cut and dry question. We can see that these are corresponding parts to these two triangles. So if this is 85, I know that this angle here is 85. I know that a triangle has 180 degrees. So I can find the measure of angle Y here by adding 31 and 85 together and subtracting from 180. So if I take 31 and 85, that's going to give me, I believe it's 116. That's going to give me 116, 31 plus 85. So now these two together give me 116. So if I take 180 minus 116, it's going to give me the missing angle here, which is 64 degrees. So angle Y right here is 64 degrees. So I know that if this is 64 degrees, well, Y is 64 degrees. I also know that these are corresponding parts, or corresponding angles, I should say. So I know that this is also 64 degrees because they have the same congruency mark. And now I can find X. I can just add these two together and subtract it from 180. So I know that 64 plus 85 is 149. And the triangle has 180, so just subtract 180 minus 149, and that gives me 31. So X is going to be equal to 31 degrees. Number 6. You might have chose to skip number 6 right now, and I don't blame you if you did, but you didn't have to if you didn't want to. Okay? Let's take a look at number 6. Number 6 here, I have these three angles on the interior of my triangle, and I know that these three angles, if I add them together, add up to how much? How many degrees are inside a triangle? 360 degrees. So if I take 30 plus 4x plus 100 minus 1x plus 7x, all of these angles together should equal to 180 degrees. And now all I have to do is just combine like terms. Well, 30 plus 100 is 130. 4x minus 1x is 3x. And 3x plus 7x is 10x. And that's equal to 180 degrees. And then from here, I guess we can all see how the simple arithmetic takes place now. The simple algebra 1 is going to be minus 130 on both sides. 10x is equal to 50. Divide both sides by 10. And I hope we can all see here that x is going to be equal to what? To 5. So x is equal to 5. But, alas, the question is asking for the value of y. Well, if x is 5, I can actually know how big this angle right here is. Well, it's 7 times 5, which is what? Which is 35. And I also know that these angles here are a linear pair. So if this is 35, I can find y by just subtracting 180 from 35. So if I take 180 degrees minus 35 degrees, that's going to give me 145 degrees, which is the answer to y. 145 degrees. And that was probably the hardest question out of the 10 questions. Number 7 is pretty simple. Again, we know that a triangle has 180 degrees. I know that these two base angles in this isosceles triangle are congruent. So if this is 76, I know that this is also 76. I add these two together and subtract it from 180. So I know that's going to give me about 152. Yep, add these two together. These two angles together comes out to 152. Subtract 180 minus 152, and I get the answer, which is 28 degrees. So I know that S is 28 degrees. Number 8, we can do it in reverse. I know again that a triangle has 180 degrees in it. I know that these two angles are congruent, so 180 minus 35 gives me 145 degrees. Then now I have to split between this angle here and that angle there. So that's 145 divided by 2, which is going to give me 72.5. Number 9 was a little bit difficult. But not too difficult if we look at it. They weren't asking you for a number, really, which they probably should have told you that a little bit better. But let's take a look here. I know that these angles here are vertical angles. So this is C. And I know that in my triangles, I have A, B, and C. So I can assume that if this is A and this is C, that this is going to be B. I can assume that this is going to be B. In addition to that, well, they don't give me any other information in terms of parallel lines. They don't tell me that these are parallel or anything like that. Because if they were, then these would be the same. These would be alternate interior angles, and they don't tell me that they're parallel, so I can't assume that. But I know that if I'm using letters A, B, and C, these are vertical angles. This is A here, so I have to have B. Then this is also a vertical angle here. And then I know that A would go there. So the measure of angle P is really equal to A. And the last question, number 10. They wanted to find the measure of angles QPT and to fill in all the angles here. Well, here I have an equilateral triangle, which means that all the sides are equal and all the angles are equal. So 180 divided by 3 is 60 degrees. So I know that this is 60 degrees, this is 60 degrees, and this is 60 degrees. I know that this is 90 degrees here, and I know that in a triangle I have 180 degrees. Well, I used up 90, which leaves me with 90 degrees that I have to use between these two angles here equally, because these two angles are congruent. So 90 divided by 2 is 45 degrees. So this is 45, and this is 45 degrees. Again, I know that this is 90 degrees. I know that this angle here has the same congruency mark as this angle here. So no, these are congruent, so this is 60. And now I'm trying to find this angle here. Well, 90 plus 60 is 150. And I know that a triangle has 180. So 180 minus 150 is 30. So this is 30 degrees. So I filled in all the spots. But now they want the measure of angle QPT. Well, here's Q to P to T. It's that big angle there. It's that big angle. And the vertex of my angle is P. So here's my vertex of my big angle there. So that's 60 plus 30 plus 45. I know that 60 plus 30 is 90. And 90 plus 45 is 135. So if I add all these together, I get 60 plus 45 plus 30 is